Hello everyone, it's Cameron from the Fans Review. Cody has been very busy recently, so that's why we haven't gotten any videos out as of late. So I was a little reluctant to do this, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try to do some movie reviews solo today. So I'm making this a speed round. I'm going to review 5 movies that have come out a little while ago, not this past weekend, but anything that came out before that, and maybe later on there will be a full review with both of us of 1 or 2 of these movies. We'll see. But right now I'm just going to give you a quick glimpse of what I thought of these 5 movies. So here we go. The first one, this is the one that came out first. This is Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One. So there was a lot of hype going into this, and I thought it absolutely lives up to it. It is a fever dream of 80s nostalgia, and the movie is about Easter eggs. So there's more Easter eggs than you could possibly even, you could analyze this movie for like a week and still miss stuff of all the Easter eggs in this movie. And since it's so grounded in nostalgia, and I have a feeling that some critics maybe did not like how nostalgic it was. It was so grounded in that nostalgia that it made it feel like this was a movie I had seen like when I was a child, and I have loved my entire life. I was like curled up in a warm blanket, like watching this movie that I've loved for so long, and it felt so nice. There is, of all the Easter eggs, there's a particular scene in the movie where they enter another film. I don't want to spoil what the film is because it's very exciting, but that was the best scene of the movie. And I want to say that I think the second half of the movie worked a little bit better than the first. So this movie takes place in a world called the Oasis. It's basically a virtual reality video game. And just about the entire first half of the movie takes place exclusively in the Oasis. So when there started to be more scenes outside the Oasis, I thought it grounded the movie in reality a little bit more. Where the first half was just like, oh, CGI everything, and it just took me a little bit to get my bearings. But this movie is awesome. I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. I give this movie an 8.8. Second is a movie I did not like nearly as much. The Miracle Season, a volleyball movie, which I've never seen one. I don't know if there's one. I can't think of one off the top of my head. So I was kind of looking forward to this. I really like volleyball, and sports movies, I feel like are kind of hard to mess up. Well, this one, it messed it up. It's so generic. And generic is different than formulaic. A lot of sports movies are formulaic, but you know what? That formula works. You know, it hits those plot points because they work, and it doesn't necessarily feel fresh. But the difference with being generic is that none of the things other than the plot didn't feel fresh. The characters weren't exciting. The volleyball action is not good at all. Like every time a girl hits a volleyball, it sounds like a grenade going off. It's so loud. The sound design drove me nuts. It completely took me out of the movie. William Hurt is actually pretty good in this as the grieving father/husband, but the movie is not good around him. Helen Hunt, I love her, but the whole movie is basically her just going, good job, like over and over again. There's really not a whole lot of character there or development, and I just feel like this story deserves a better movie than this. I gave it a 3.1. It wasn't very good. Third, I'm going to review Blockers. starring John Cena, Leslie Mann, and Ike Barinholtz as three parents of daughters who have a pact to lose their virginity on prom night, and they are trying to stop them. I was shocked by how almost feminist this movie is, considering it was written by two dudes. It was directed by a woman, which is very exciting, but yeah, part of me is like, oh, you know what, this movie should have been directed by women, but the other half is like, oh, you know what, it's exciting that two men can write this movie that is so female-driven and oriented. It gives me hope. So that was very surprising. It's a very heartwarming movie. Each parent kind of Leslie Mann doesn't get as much of a scene, but it didn't bother me because in the situation at the end, it didn't make sense for her to really have a conversation with her daughter. But both Ike Barinholtz and John Cena both have very heartwarming, lovely conversations with their daughters towards the end of the movie. I got a little verklempt. It was very... it made me feel warm and fuzzy inside. I will say this movie is not nearly as uproariously funny as I thought it was going to be. A lot of the stuff in the trailer did not make the final cut of the movie, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. I didn't feel like it was as uproariously funny as it could have or maybe should have been. But this movie is, I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it a 7.6. So again, I highly recommend that one. Chappaquiddick is the story of Ted Kennedy. I don't know what year it was, but he was involved in a car accident in which a young woman died, and didn't necessarily handle it in the best way. And this movie explores this kind of scandal that he didn't, report it to the police right away, and I don't want to get too much into specifics, but Jason Clarke is awesome as Ted Kennedy. It's a very difficult, complex performance because this movie doesn't necessarily portray him in a good light, but he still finds a way to kind of make him likable, and it's a very delicate balance, and the movie does a good job as a whole of not really taking sides on the story. It doesn't really condemn him, but it doesn't let him off the hook either, and it's a very impressive performance. I think it's probably the best I've seen him, and Kate Mara is also wonderful as the young woman who ends up dying. One thing about this movie is that the first half was very different than the second half. The first half was kind of tense. It's all building up to this car crash, and it's directed with some verve, and it's edited really well. The pacing is great. And then after the car accident, it kind of delves into a comedy of errors involving the Ted Kennedy's public relations team basically screwing everything up, and it's all there. I laughed during the second half of the movie. They just make every possible mistake you possibly could, and he's still. Ted Kennedy was the longest running senator, I think, in American history. So obviously, despite all this public relations errors, it didn't actually end up hurting him, and that was one thing I really liked. They end the movie with real-life interviews of people and asking how they feel about that, how they felt about Ted Kennedy after this happened, and I thought that was a really smart, interesting choice to end this movie, and it really pays off. Alright, I'm saving the best for last. Last but definitely not least, A Quiet Place. This is my favorite movie of 2018 so far. Paddington 2 has finally been beaten. That was not a joke. I loved Paddington 2. So this comes from the husband-wife team, real-life husband-wife team of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. John Krasinski directed it, and they both star in it. This movie is incredible. The tension does not stop. It's 90 minutes. The tension does not. Maybe there's like 3 very small scenes where there is not a little bit of maybe the tension goes down a little bit, but it is 90 minutes of non-stop tension, and holy cow, it's so palpable. So basically the plot is that there are these creatures that live out in the world that are attracted to sound. So you cannot make any noise or they will find you. And they're blind and they hunt during the day and during the night. So like every little scene, even if not something inherently dramatic is happening, there is the possibility that someone could like knock something over. Someone, there's so much possibility for, someone could make a noise. They have kids, they have young children. Children aren't necessarily quiet, they're not quiet people, and a lot of drama and tension comes out of that. Holy cow. The sound design is amazing. I highly recommend seeing this movie in theaters because you want to cancel out as much ambient sound as possible. I mean, at one point during this movie, I coughed and I gasped because I was the lack of sound is so powerful. I felt like I was intruding on the movie and the character's experience in the movie. It's like, oh no, they're gonna find us. So there are, and the movie's at its best when there isn't much sound, because when the characters there are a few lines of dialogue that aren't either signed, or whispered. And when the characters are talking, it's generally because, there's another loud noise nearby, so it's not as dramatic dramatic and tense in those moments. So this movie definitely works best. It's a silent movie. I cannot speak enough about the performances. The kids are wonderful. Millicent Simmons and Noah Jupe, who were breakout stars last year. And back it up this year, that they were not one-hit wonders. Wink, wink. John Krasinski is wonderful as a dad, and Emily Blunt she's such a star. She's such a powerhouse. After this, I just recently watched Edge of Tomorrow. She's my favorite actress working right now. A few years ago, I remember Emily Blunt. I wouldn't be able to pick her out of a lineup, and now just everything I see her in, she's so interesting. And she delivers in this movie. She is a powerhouse. There's only one tiny complaint I have in this movie, and that is I wish they would have mapped out the geographic area in which they are living a little bit better, because towards the end of the movie, characters move from one location to the other, and I was a little confused by that. It took me out of the movie for a split second. But other than that, this is about as close to a perfectly made movie as I have seen in a very, very long time. I give this movie a 9.9. Go see it. It is absolutely incredible. John Krasinski completely knocked this out of the park. There you guys go. That was Speed Round, camera reviewing 5 different movies. So please let me know. Did you see any of these movies? Did you like them? Did you dislike them? I have my Twitter handle in the description of this video. Please come follow me at cam_fansler. That's basically the only social media I really use. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you have any ideas for any further videos in the future, let us know. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks. Come back soon. Bye.